All right. Welcome to the seventh episode of Power and Apps for Wednesday, Jan 23rd, 2018, live from Tip City, Ohio. I'm Vivek Pavishi, and I just got my social innovation swag from Microsoft. So, proudly wearing that. Finally, something to show off.
Right.
Yeah, and joining us today is Anton Robbins, aka the Power Rapper. Thank you for joining, Anton. What's going on?
Oh man, nothing much. Thank you for having me. I got my box as well. I think maybe a day or two ago. So I got a Power App shirt. I get to go ahead and brand my love with my T-shirt. So I'm gonna wear this thing with pride. I'm so excited to get it. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then do you want to just give a quick intro about how you kind of connected with Power Apps and what you're currently what do you work, where do you work
Yeah,
and stuff? Yeah.
yeah, cool. So I've been in the Power App fantasy land for the last maybe year and a half. I started with Power Apps, just kind of playing around with the modern experience with SharePoint. My background is SharePoint, so I kind of ran across it just trying to try new things inside of the environment, and got there and found literally the power of Power Apps, and I just fell in love. So I've been a student of Power Apps for, like I said, the last year and a half. And just trying to push it to its limits, trying to find all the small things that can help us build better, faster applications, and be able to kind of make these applications that you couldn't build if you were just using C plus or JavaScript and you didn't know
Mm-hmm.
how to use it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so just pushing at it, man.
Cool. Yeah. Anton has I mean, he's also one of the big social innovators. He's pretty active on Twitter as well. So we have this our own bubble of tweets and within Power Apps. So it's always fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good to have him on the show. Today he'll be giving a demo on some cool hacks around emails from Power Apps, and also he'll be talking about some of the new features coming up on Power Apps and Flow, which was recently published under the release notes.
Yeah.
So that's something fun, and we all look forward to it. Before that, let's get started with some updates from both Power Apps and Flow. And let me share my screen over here. Okay. All right. Okay. So the first one is the improved data source and field selection. Okay, improved data source and field selection in Canvas apps. Now, this is more of a feature enhancement, I would say. It's a bit easier to get data sources kind of selected and finding fields within them. So one thing is the look seems much more cohesive with the Power Apps Creator Studio now, and the Web Studio. Sorry, and when you choose a data source, especially for CDS, um, before this, there were like it took up a lot of space. Each of these, I would say, entities. Now it's much more easier to select entities, and also you can search for entities within a CDS table.
Are they doing the same thing inside of Canvas with this?
This is inside Canvas.
This Canvas. Okay, sorry.
This is on Canvas apps. Yes.
Oh, there
Yep.
it is. Yes. Okay. I
Yep.
thought I saw it, so I wasn't sure. That's
Yep.
nice.
Yep. Yeah. And the other thing that was added was SharePoint site selection. Um,
Yeah.
the search was not there before this. I mean, if you have like 10, 15 SharePoint sites and you need to find something quick, this is pretty helpful.
Yeah.
I personally had to search only for like 7 or 8, so it was not that bad, but I can understand when it gets frustrating for people who have a lot of SharePoint sites.
Yeah.
Then
I think
yeah, go
I
ahead.
think it kind of helps
Sorry.
also with if you're looking for like libraries, like sometimes like a library won't show,
Mm-hmm.
your list will show. So I think this is really good to be able to use to find things like that, or at least be able to put the list in and find it. I mean, sorry, the site in it and then find that library. So
Yep. Yeah. Going ahead, the form. So now, if you need to select a form, you can just, instead of clicking here and then it popping out, you can just select a data source by just having like a drop down here. Again, just another, I would say, reduces the number of seconds from your moving the cursor around. So all these, I would say, are good to have features which can definitely reduce the amount of time that you spend on selecting fields and data sources. The other thing was the fields, that again it's a much cleaner look now.
yeah,
There is an option to search for fields here. That's definitely helpful because some forms have a huge amount of fields. And the other thing, so yeah, you can move up and down. There's a drag and drop feature as well, but somebody pointed out that the drag and drop was not working fine. But I guess they'll address that. So till date, I think you were only able to drag it up and down, which, I mean, drag it around, but it did create some issues for me personally
yeah,
because the movement wouldn't be very fluid. It will just
yep,
put it somewhere else. So the move up and down is definitely helpful for me.
yep. That is good.
Yeah. Uh, and the last one, when you add a new data source, you can even search for connections. So this search, I think, has been implemented in a bunch of places around data sources. That definitely helps to scroll, instead of scrolling around, you can search for it. So some improved ways to kind of move around in your studio. So definitely helps in reducing the amount of time spent.
Yeah.
Next thing, sorry, Anthony, you were saying something?
No, I'm saying that's nice.
Yeah.
I've used it. It's pretty good.
Yep. Have you already started using these?
I just as you kind of work through things, you kind of see things pop up in your environment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, look at this! Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
using it is nice.
Yeah. It's actually like sometimes when you just it's just a surprise and you're like, something's different. What is
Yeah.
it though?
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, I know what you're saying. The next one, delegation of aggregate functions for CDS. I know both of the news items are around CDS. Uh, I have started using it, and I mean CDS overall. So I'm finding it much more simpler than using Excel or even SharePoint lists. It definitely, CDS has much more capabilities. And before I kind of jump on, I just wanted to make a note that even if you don't have the CDS access right now, it's not under your license, you can always create a developer account. I think they call it the community plan,
Yes, community
and
plan.
can play around with CDS before you actually want to use it in production. So that's a good way to play around with it and see the features available with it, the power of CDS. And if you think that's good enough to implement, you can always get the license then. All right, so delegation of aggregate functions. So the sum, min, max, and average functions, if you want to kind of sum the total, the quantity or the amount, the revenue, something like that, these functions were not delegated, and you'll always get this kind of that horrible triangle, the yellow triangle,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I don't like to see it on when I'm developing some things where it
Exactly.
says you can only there might be a limitation of 500 and a maximum of 2,000 records.
Yes.
But now you can use these aggregate functions on CDS data sources, and these functions will be delegated. And if you haven't kind of got around the concept of delegation, it basically takes the I would say the function to the data source rather than doing it at the Powerups. I might not be using the correct terms, but it, the it it basically takes the function away from Powerups and does the calculation on the data source side and gives you back the data. There's an example which Greg has kind of gone through over here, where he has like a million records, and he has taken only he's filtered it from 900,000 to 949,000 and done the sum average around it. If you want to use this, it's still under I think it's under experimental. Yeah, so you'll have to go and turn it on to try it out.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go turn it. I'm gonna have to go to my environment and take a look at it and turn it on and try it out.
Yeah.
Definitely try this one out.
Yep. Okay. Moving on to some flow updates. First one, the filter resources in the flow portal, SharePoint page approvals, and there are 2 new connectors. So the filter resources, it's a pretty neat tool to kind of search basically within your flows. So and I think it indexes almost everything within your flow. So if you need to quickly filter, and if you have been using flow for have been using it for a long time now, you probably have more than
Yes.
15, 20 flows. So it's a neat way. And given that you have used proper naming for your flows, initially I was really bad at it, but
Right.
I have started using some better ways of naming my flows now. So definitely helpful. The other feature, and this is pretty neat, so you can customize SharePoint page approvals with Flow, and they have made it pretty easy now. So if you have a SharePoint page which if you don't want anybody to just change it, if you want to have a page approval process over there, you can customize the page. You can configure the page approval. So if you are the admin, you can. There is an option. There should be an option under Flow to configure page approval, and then you can decide who the approvers are, the flow name, and everything right from that SharePoint site, that page.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, and the reason why I kind of like it more is you can almost set up the whole thing within the SharePoint page. You don't have to actually go into Flow. And I know, Anton, probably you're going to talk about it when you talk about the release notes for Powerups, the Flow thing that's coming up in Powerups as well, where you can, so I think this is something which will be implemented in multiple kind of Microsoft platforms. But yeah, so once you set that up, if anybody's makes a change, it will go through an approval process, and you can configure it however you want to. But yeah, it's an easy way to set up a page approval flow.
That's pretty cool because, I mean, you think about some of the change management processes in some companies. You know, you need to go through a certain chain of command. So that's pretty cool. So you're putting a true, you put an automation behind it. I like that.
Yeah, it's definitely something which making it easier on the SharePoint side itself. I think that's a big plus, and something which, even if somebody is not so keen on using Flow, when they see this, they'll be like, "Huh, let me try it out. This seems pretty interesting." So yeah, definitely something that you should check out. And if you have SharePoint pages where you don't want people to make changes just like that, you definitely want to implement this.
Yeah, definitely governance. This fits right into the governance conversation.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And just 2 new connectors, Acumatica and Plum Sale Help Desk. And I have heard about the Plum Sale Help Desk, but not much aware about the Acumatica. And yeah, if you're using something like this, Flow has these connectors now.
That's cool.
And because I think I missed out on this one in my previous show, the last week's show. So let me try to cover some of these here. So the January connector improvements and new releases. Under that, there have been some changes made on the planner connection, and there have a lot of ideas that have been submitted around this because a lot of people are starting to implement the planner tool as a kind of I think if I pronounce it Kanban way of kind of project management.
Yep.
So definitely adding more options within the connection helps to automate some um, tasks around planner.
That's nice.
The other thing is the getting categories for Office 365 events. So the Office 365 Outlook connector now outputs an event categories for get events. This definitely, if you are using kind of event categories, this was not there in the connector. There are always way to use kind of the graph connection, the graph, the HTTP request, but now that it's already in the connection, uh, you can just pull it out here. So pretty slick. Yep.
Nice.
And again, two new connectors that they released in January was the Ali and TechSync.
Yeah, I can't wait to use TechSync. That one looks
Really?
fun. Yeah, I have a demo that I want to create using TechSync, so I'm waiting to get my hands on it.
Can you give a bit more details because I haven't used it. I don't know about it.
So I haven't used it either, but I know that a lot of the connectors we have access to do SMS. So I definitely want to try out and see how does it stack against the others that we have access to. So I have a few things I want to try. So I'm gonna give it a whirl. The one thing about this one is the fact too that it's a premium one, so it really depends on what type of license that you have. Will dictate if you can use it or not. So I think I will bump if I don't have the right license, I'm gonna bump it up so I can definitely get a chance to touch it. So
Yeah.
So yeah, so this sounds pretty good.
Yep, we look forward to something from you then, some demo on this around TechSync. And yeah, when somebody just asked, is TechSync premium connector? And yes, it is.
Yep, it's a premium. It's a few more dollars, but I think sometime with looking at the license, if you decide to go to a higher license, a lot of things you get you don't really think about, but it's nice to have access to this stuff. So I can kind of justify using it.
All right. Before I give Anton the mic to talk about the release notes, just a quick plug of the Alexa skills for Powerups news and Flow news. So if you have an Amazon Echo device and if you want to get the updates from both Microsoft Powerups blog and the Flow blog, you can go ahead and just enable these skills and just ask your device to play it out to you. I know Anton has been using it for quite some time, so
Yes,
go ahead.
it's at my desk.
All right, Anton. So take the lead and share with us what's new and coming up, and what are you excited about?
All right, cool. Let me get access to present. That is my camera. Vivek, where am I? I'm sorry. Where's the link? I don't see it. Oh, there it is.
The sharing?
Yeah, I see it. I'm sorry.
Okay. No
I'm used to Teams. I'm used to Teams.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm sorry. Oh, there it is. Screen. Share screen one. And share. All right, cool. So let me just bring down our release. Oh, there it is. Our release notes here. So the release notes that we have is something that Microsoft puts out, I think, about every quarter. So the release notes that we receive, these the first ones that I really started to pay attention to were the release notes for 2018 October, which I'm showing you right here. There was a lot of stuff in here for Power Apps and Flow. On the Power Apps side, was a lot of CDS information in here. So it was something that I had to pay attention to make sure I try to keep myself up to speed with all things that were going on. So in this case, they also provided, as of, I think it was the 21st. On the 21st, they provided the April 2019 release notes. So so this one is full of information and some things that kind of jumped out at me that are coming out soon. And some things I think we should take a look at, or at least kind of put on our radar for later in the year. So I actually downloaded a copy of it here. So this is my 2018. So I'm just going to go to the top here so you can see everything. Let me do a quick refresh. And let's take a look at, yes, I like this. It's so beautiful. So, all right, is this, oh, no, this is, oh, that's 18, I'm sorry. There we go. This is what I'm looking for. This is 19. I'm gonna do a, okay, looking good. So look, they kind of changed the page on it. So now it's a subway opposed to what, a rocket or something. But as you kind of look through the release notes, it's going to give you a lot of information pertaining to Dynamics and to the Power Platform. So this document is about 315 pages, so it's a lot of information in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip directly down to the Power Apps and Flow. So let me just get there. And there's a lot to kind of talk about, but there's two that kind of have me excited. The first one is Power Apps related, and it's related to the layout. So as of right now, we're used to creating two different sizes of application canvases, and one is, you know, the good old mobile, and the other one is just tablet. So here they're talking about, as you can kind of see all the good stuff that we have coming up, right? But the one that I know is coming soon is going to be the Canvas app with responsive layout. And with that one, I'm kind of happy about that because it gives us the ability to, I believe, because I haven't seen it yet, but I believe it's going to give us the ability to identify the different sizes that we want to have our canvas reside on. So I'm excited to see how they're going to represent that. I know right now.
Yeah, I am super excited about it. I know I mean, there's only one paragraph there, and I cannot talk because we do talk some things in the Power Apps Champions group, but that's under NDA. But yeah, I'm super excited about getting that feature finally. And yeah, there will be some, I would say, work involved in setting that up. I would say similar, if you have worked on a Bootstrap website before, I would say there is something similar that you'll have to implement. That's what I understand from what's written over here. But once you implement it and maybe create a component around that, you're just set. You don't need to recreate it every time.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm really excited to touch this one. And again, like you said, depending on where you go, Bootstrap. I'm using my quotes here. Bootstrap-ish definitely gives you that ability to kind of make sure that what you build will fit on different size screens. I'm really wondering how it's going to look. You know, if you build it and you go from a tablet to a phone, how will it represent your different items on your canvas? So that's going to be pretty fun. So I'm waiting for that one to come out. Again, to go to public preview next month. So that's a big one.
Yep.
So that's a good one. And that's, I mean, a lot of stuff we got coming out is going to be in the April timeframe, I believe.
Yeah.
But the one that's really exciting, and it to me, it kind of signals that there's going to be, it's going to be some doors open. So I think one of the biggest asks for Power Appers or app makers, the biggest ask is, you want to be able to have external sharing. I think that's that behind. So I think it will be external sharing and then printing, right? So external sharing. So as of right now, external sharing is not available, but on the Flow side, they're talking about external sharing, and it looks like it's going to come in sometime in April. So let me see if I can just find that really quickly for you. Let's see this. There's a lot of instances of external here. Let's go back up one. Power Apps, and then Flow. And the way they kind of laid it out for external sharing, they also grouped external sharing with, there it is, guest users in Flow and approvals. Let's see if we can get to that page real quick. Come on. Let's try. No. All right. I'm sorry. Excuse my my scroll. But on 258, I just want to talk a little bit more about external sharing. And another thing that's big about the external sharing is the fact that I don't know if many of you are working inside of a government silo. So if you work with something that's considered as G, we call it G, government high, and own their own tenants. And so as of now, Flow hasn't made it there, but Flow will be making its way there in April per the release notes, and I would love to get to it. It's a thick document. But we talk about that. So for me, it's pretty exciting because one is the fact that we've been waiting for external something on the Power platform. And two, because I live in Washington, D.C., and a lot of our people that we work with client-wise, people come to user groups. They all most people work for the government or work with a government agency, and they love to see all this good stuff, but never get a chance to really put it into play or into action in their environment. So these are two things that really have me excited. So I would definitely say for April, put a check on a calendar or something there to keep an eye out for it, because it's going to be available. And kind of like what we find out now is that as you work through the different platforms, you just happen to stumble across some stuff. So just keep it on your radar for that time. And I'm going to try to see how can I find out when it's released, between reading the different blogs and forums and going back to the documents. I'll get a chance to find out when it's available for the government side, because I do not have a government tenant personally. So so those are some of the things that kind of are jumping out there.
Yeah. Do you mind if can you go to page 252?
Yeah.
I think I this is one feature which I think is also gonna be super cool.
Oh, come on, man. Let's see.
Yeah.
To find a faster way to get there.
Yeah, so if you click on the page number on the top on 32, you should be able to enter a number. I know Google Chrome doesn't make it pretty obvious.
Yeah.
If you click on here 39, if you just click on that 39, you should be able to click 252.
Yeah, it's not letting me. I should have pulled it up in there.
That's okay. But I can take over and probably talk about it. Let me just try to open it here. But yeah, lots of goodies to come, and I'm super excited about it. Okay, let me start sharing again. Only if this thing could work fine. Okay. All right. So going to okay. So yeah, seamless
there it is.
creation in Powerups. This is something which so
There we
it's
go.
basically creating a flow within. I mean, you don't have to go to flow and come back and try refreshing and all that stuff. You can just create flows from the Powerups. Kind of your wherever you're creating your Power Up, create the flow there itself. This
Yes,
is going to be huge.
that is.
Switching between two screens all the time and seeing how it's working. This is going to be pretty helpful.
So when is this slated to be released?
I think this one. I have to look into that, but I think this also is June. Oh, this is even far. But yeah,
And
it's
do a check, put a placeholder for it. It's a big thing.
yeah, it's
They're doing the same thing with Flow and in Teams as well.
huh?
They're doing the same thing with Flow and Teams. Let's see
Maybe.
if I can find it here. Kind of looked at it. So yeah, so it's like the integration of Flow is going to be expanded
Yep.
within this quarter. So it's going to be something really exciting to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Look forward to. So so yeah, it's gonna be good. I think we'll continue to check the release notes to kind of put things on a calendar to see if when it's going to be released, or at least kind of look through my tenant to kind of see when it's there, so that we can take advantage of it and also kind of share with people how to better utilize it. So
Yep.
it's gonna be a good.
Yep. So do you want to start off with your demo?
Yeah, definitely. I can start with my demo. So it's kind of we're talking about the different. We're talking about the asks for Power App users, and one of the biggest asks that people will want to see is printing. And as of right now, the print function isn't there. And there's a lot of workarounds for it. So in my quest to try to figure out best ways to print information, I thought about using email, right? So if I have a SharePoint list that I'm using, or I'm working for the information using an app. I want to pull information out and kind of give it to somebody. Because that was to ask from a customer. I was like, no, don't do it. You want no paper, but there's like, no, we need paper. So I kind of started to kind of look through some options, and I mean, I've seen options where we can use OneDrive to take information and create a PDF and then move it over and then send it via email, things like that. But I figured some of those solutions require OneDrive and things like that. So depending on if you have access to OneDrive or if you don't, OneDrive, I'm sorry, and if you don't have access, you need to kind of figure a workaround. So in my case, I created a workaround, basically emailing the information over to the users. So in this case, I'm just going to pull this down because I'm on the wrong screen. 1 second, get it there. Open it up. And so this is an example of the email that I pulled over or created using Power Apps. In this solution, in this Power App solution, I'm using SharePoint Connector. I'm also using the Outlook 365 Outlook connector as well to kind of move information over. So the beginning of this is really you're really creating creating an HTML, and I'm not for sure if a lot of us still write HTML, but what I did was I went to W3 school and I pulled There we go. Sorry, I got a lot of stuff on my desktop. So I went to W3 school to kind of brush up on my HTML skills because I don't have to use them often anymore because Power Apps does everything for me. Um, so I had to go back and try to brush up on my skills. So from here, they definitely give you a lot of help for HTML tags and kind of walk you through, really what HTML looks like. It's not just so much of having a body tag and H1 tag, talking about how to make emphasis on some of the data that you're adding. So what I did was I kind of went in here and kind of walked through it and created what I wanted to see and built it inside of my Notepad++. So this is basically what I use. I just use this as a template to what I wanted to do. So for instance, in my case for my SharePoint site, I wanted to use reimbursement requester, and then this is where in this tag here would be where I'm going to bring the data in from SharePoint. So let me kind of show you what that looks like. So since I'm bringing data in from SharePoint utilizing Power Apps, there's a few things you have to do. So in my case, I consider it as it's a text input. So I'll call it a text event name.text. And I'll show you it inside of Power Apps as well. There we go. So in this case, in Power Apps, really what I'm using is I'm using the HTML text. I've never used this before. Like I think I never had a reason to use it. I'm usually using a label or input. So the last three to me is kind of like, oh, they're pretty. I don't use them though. But in this case, you definitely have to use it because you'll need to take this information from the HTML and add it to your on select button here that I created. But we're using Office 365 and using send email. So there's a few differences that you have when you're putting together this file. So it would be great if you can just take the HTML and just drop it into Power Apps, but we know that's not the case, right? Because Power Apps asks things for in a certain way.
Yep.
So we had to do was I had to use a few tricks that I learned from YouTube videos, as well as working with a video that I watched from Shane's, and one that I also watched. I read an article by John Liu, and I forgot John Liu's name as far as his webpage. I think it's like Flow Ninja or something like that.
Yeah, Flow Ninja. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, this guy, and he's amazing. So if there's anything that you were looking for flow related, I go to his site, and a lot of things that are really complex, he makes it like child's play. So
yep, his blog posts are pretty helpful. Have helped me in some of the complex things that I wanted to implement. So yeah.
So it's good. So one of the things that you have to do is that you really need to take the HTML that you create and make it a single string so that the HTML input knows what to do with it. So in that case, this is where I'm putting these quotes at the top and quotes at the bottom so that it knows that it's a complete string. But you also have to do a few different tricks as well. So for instance, where we want to pull information from the actual Power App, in this case, this is a text field. So we have to put in these quotes and this ampersand. And basically what that does is it creates a almost like a concatenate so that everything kind of sits together in one single string so that it knows how to pull the information. So go ahead, Vivek, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So if you take a look at it, at the code actually inside of Power Apps, I put this request into Power Apps user voice. This is why I did it. So when you're building something, you have this really, really long code snippet or a formula, you only get so much space to pull, right? So I would have loved to kind of left it here and then scrolled through the formula. That's not there yet. So hopefully anyone's listening, please go take a look at that request and vote for it.
Really? I thought that was. I didn't realize it.
Yeah, it's not there. So
Huh.
like in this case, like I'm really scrolling through, and sometimes I have to scroll through here to kind of find it. So
Okay.
so here is basically when I was talking about um the quotes and the ampersand here to kind of show how we can pull in information from the form. So in this case, what I did was I brought the form in. Form really not is needed. So I just made it really, and this is really rough because I was just kind of toying around and demoing it. So so basically this is the form, and what I did was you go into the form, and if you have a card, you want to rename the card that has the data that you're working with. So in most cases, when it comes over, it's going to give you some really ambiguous name that really doesn't make a big difference to you. So you need to go and make those changes. So in this case, where I wanted to bring in the event name, I just changed it to text event, and then inside of here, I threw my ampersand. There we go. For my table data, I added it here. So you can do a lot of stuff actually with this, with using the HTML text editor or the HTML text to kind of really take your page to a whole different level. And it's really like read only. You won't be able to make any changes to it, but you can, if you wanted to, you could add in some dynamic things to make your things change on the page itself. So I mean, sorry, within the text editor. So it's a lot of different things that you can do with it.
There's one thing to note. If you are creating HTML from some website, you're trying to get some code, if it has double quotes, it might use some double quotes in some of the styling elements. It would be like before pasting it over here, just take it to, I don't know, Notepad++ or any editor and replace double quotes with single quotes and then paste it over here, because double quotes will be recognized as it will end the string kind of in Powerups. So if HTML has double quotes, you'll have to change it to single quotes.
Yeah, so this is kind of where I kind of got jacked up there, right here. So what I wanted to do, and it looks real funny, right? What I wanted to do is be able to use. I really didn't need to. I just wanted to try it out, but I wanted to be able to put in the mail too, so I could link the address and just click it and open up an email and send it to it. But in the in HTML, you have to kind of build it this way. So there's quotes here. So it was, like you said, it got a little messy and a little dicey down here, but it works. So I did it this way here. So once you build all this information inside your HTML, in order to get it out of your Power App and into email, I created this button here, and inside the button, I went to the on select, and I just pulled in the 365 connector information. And from here, which I so love, I love what I love about Power Apps is that it helps you throughout your entire process as you build in different formulas. So from here, there it is. It kind of walks me through what I need to do. So the first one here is I need to provide who I want to send it to. So in this case, I hard coded who I want to send it back to myself. But if we wanted to, we could, I could have used one of the fields inside of my Power App to make it dynamic.
Yep.
In this case, for the actual title or subject, I did make it dynamic, right? So whatever is inside of the text name, which I use on this page, is going to provide that text name. And then for the body, if you click here, the body is all based off of this HTML text input, which is our information right here. So as that changes, it's going to identify what the information is and send it back to us. And there's more things we can do if we wanted to add more body information based off that. We can pull it from here. But also, if you want to, we could have just taken the information out of the Power app just from the different cards and data and put that information here to kind of make the body of the email if people wanted to. So you have a lot of options. This is a good thing to use to get things in and out. And the last piece that we had to include was these are the particulars, right? So if you wanted to add in a CC to someone or BCC, or you want to mark the importance of the email, you can. I'm sorry, importance of the email. You can do that as well. But the big thing here, and this is something I just noticed, was the fact of, or thought about, where it says is HTML is true or false, right? So that way it knows that the data is coming over is HTML. But it reminds me of the fact of when you build an email using email inside of Flow for the send with.
Anton, are you there? I think we just lost Anton. I think his mic's not working. Give us a minute while we figure this out. Okay. Give us a minute here while I try to figure out what happened to Anton. Okay. All right. While he tries to join back again, let's keep going. And okay, where was I? Okay. His Chrome crashed or something. Okay, let's talk about. So I think I mean most of his demo is complete. The only thing I would say is you could let me. Yeah. So once you send that email, I mean, that's definitely a good way to, if you want it to be printed, I think you could just print it from there. But otherwise, you could, I know a lot of offices, they have this printer setup where the printer has an email address. You could use that and create your, Powerup so that it sends an email to that printer. And then you can try to print it out from there. So that could be a way to get around kind of printing stuff. Definitely the HTML helps in creating a nice format. Anton created that a simple one. You can always add some colors and formatting to it if you want. But yeah, if you're good at HTML, you can figure those things out. All right. If I think Anton won't be able to join us back, but we'll plug his stuff here. If you want to follow Anton and all his work, definitely follow him on Twitter. His handle is Anton_Rob_Pence. And he definitely, talks about all his different. One of the things is Power Addicts, but of course he talks about his other work as well going on Power Apps. He has a video, and he's back. Anton, are you there? Hey,
sorry.
you're back.
I'm back. I'm very sorry. My computer decided to. I guess we got talking about Power Apps. It was not talking about it. So it completely locked me off. I just got back in. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I just was promoting your channel and your Twitter handle. So If you want to go back and just complete the demo.
Yeah, let me just make sure that everything is still there because
Did it
it
crash?
kind of
Oh,
yeah, it went down and came like right back up, like someone pulled the plug. I'm
I
sorry.
understand.
Um,
But yeah, I just give them a quick this thing. Like after that, it's just the email, and one way of setting it up would be I know some offices have these printers where they have an email ID assigned to the printer. Uh, if you want to get it printed directly, you could just send an email to that and get it printed.
that
Yeah.
is true. That is
If
true.
you do you want to add any other comments on that?
No, actually, I think you know that what you just mentioned is a good thing. I haven't thought about that one as well. It's kind of adding because the printer has a queue, and sometimes the queues
Yeah.
are a resource. So
Yep.
definitely be a different way to look at it. So that is a good one, but nothing much more to add to it. We kind of saw the email. I showed the two difference between HTML and HTML inside of Power Apps. So that's really all I had for.
Uh, Awesome. I think that was a pretty nice kind of way of showing if you don't want to use Flow, if you don't have OneDrive, how do you get it done, right? I mean, if you want to use a simple way of doing it just from Power Apps, you don't have the license as well, some of the other stuff, how to implement it. So yeah, there were some neat tricks in your demo. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Oh, man, thank you. Sorry about the technical. I should have
That's
crushed the
okay.
goldfish.
So, is there something new that you're working on, which we should expect soon?
Yeah, actually, so I'm working on this new this new application, and it's centered around videos. I'm trying to utilize the cognitive services to provide to transcribe a lot of the videos that we have. So,
Hmm.
one of the bigger things is we have videos in one language, but sometimes people don't speak our language, right? So
Yeah.
it'd be cool to be able to take that video and transcribe the speech into text, and then
Hmm.
take the text and translate it to whatever language you want to. So I'm working on that one. It's proven to be pretty interesting to
Uh-huh.
see the kinds of services and think about all the different things that we can do.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, looking forward to seeing more about that.
Yep. So that's the biggest we have right now.
Okay.
I'm always in the lab, so
Yep. Always something's going on.
yes, sir.
Yep. So the other thing I just wanted to plug here was those Dynamics guys have started to create this video library of all the Power Platform people on their community page. So if you go to dynamics365society.uk, you should be able to see this community. So they have a Power Platform bank. They have a community in itself, and they started putting these kind of featuring all the YouTubers and making videos on Power Platform. I recently got added to it. Anton, you should also get added to it.
Yeah, I need to. I need to start putting out more content.
Yeah.
I gotta put some more content. I
Yeah.
do so much, so I think it's
Maybe
more.
this inspires you to do more content.
Yeah, it
Yep.
does. It does.
Okay. I think I guess that's all. We'll definitely have a Power Addicts call soon in the second week of February. We don't
Yeah.
have a date decided yet, but yeah, we'll have that soon as well. So look forward to getting some more updates. Follow. You can follow me on Twitter at that_API_guy. My YouTube channel. If you're watching the video, you know it's youtube.com/that_API_guy. And let us know in the comments um, if you wanna um, if you want us to cover something in the next videos. If you have any feedback or any comments around if you want to share something as well, we are always open to it. So, and if you
All right.
want to if you I'm gonna set this up. I'm gonna set up a form and post it on Twitter. And if any one of you wants to join as a guest, I would be happy to have you.
Sure.
I don't filter out anyone. If you have touch Powerups or Flow, you, you can be here and you can demo something. So
Everybody's
let
welcome.
me know if you want to get featured.
Yep, everyone is welcome.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Anton, for joining. And we'll see you next week, same time. That's Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. And till then, keep power up and keep flowing.